Forged in the heat of innovation and battle-tested in the frigid cold of the Korean War, the F-84 Thunderjet was born from the lineage of the legendary P-47 Thunderbolt, with a mission to become a formidable successor. After a rocky development, the F-84 Thunderjet would soon find itself face-to-face with its most lethal adversary, the Soviet-built MiG-15, a sleek and agile predator in the theater of war. The stakes were high, the odds seemingly insurmountable. But through the first large engagement since World War II, the Thunderjet would show that it was not a fighter to be underestimated. Outmatched and outpaced, but never outdone, the jet would forge its own legacy in the annals of history. Beginnings. In 1944, Alexander Kartvel, the mastermind behind the legendary Republic P-47 Thunderbolt fighter, embarked on an ambitious project, creating a jet-powered successor. The result was the innovative P-84 Thunderjet, which boasted a J-35 turbojet running through the fuselage, with fuel stored in sleek wingtip tanks. The United States Armed Air Forces, captivated by its potential, eagerly ordered evaluation and production models before the P-84 took to the skies. As the United States Army Air Forces transformed into the United States Air Force in 1947, the P designation for pursuit aircraft was replaced by F for fighters. The F-84B models arrived in December 1947, heralding a new era of military aircraft. However, excitement turned to disappointment as the F-84B and F-84C models revealed structural failings. It seemed as if the Thunderjet's future hung in the balance. Enter the F-84D, a model that emerged as the Thunderjet's savior. It boasted sturdier wing spars, revised fuel tanks, a functional ejection seat, and a more powerful J-35A-17 engine. The introduction of the F-84D model breathed new life into the aircraft, refining its capabilities and addressing structural weaknesses. The Thunderjet shared similarities with its ancestor, the P-47, in its heavy-feeling nature and high takeoff and landing speeds. Although faster and boasting a greater range than the F-80 Shooting Star, its straight-wing design left it trailing behind the F-86 Sabre and Soviet MiG-15 in terms of speed and agility. The F-84 Thunderjet cut a striking figure with its tubular fuselage, circular air intake dominating the nose, and the pilot's position, offering an impressive all-around view. Armed with 6 rapid-firing M3 50-caliber machine guns, it could also carry a formidable payload of rockets or bombs. Overcoming the early model's flaws, the Thunderjet morphed into a highly maintainable aircraft with mechanics in mind. In the skies of North Korea, the F-84 Thunderjet played a pivotal role in the Korean War. With main deliveries of F-84s consisting of the D and E models, the new aircraft were initially tasked with protecting B-29 superfortresses from North Korean fighters. While a formidable fighter on its own, when facing more experienced Soviet pilots, the F-84's advantage diminished. Despite this, the type would fare well in most Korean War encounters. On a cold winter morning of January 21, 1951, Lieutenant Colonel William E. Bertram of the 27th Fighter Escort Wing led a group of F-84 Thunderjets into the unknown skies over North Korea. The group's mission that day was to escort a squadron of B-29 Superfortress bombers as they carried out a daylight raid against enemy targets. With danger lurking around every corner, as the bombers approached their target, the Thunderjet pilots cautiously scanned the skies. Suddenly, they caught sight of a group of Soviet-built Mikoyan-Gryevich MiG-15 fighters. Sleek, deadly, and closing in fast, the F-84 pilots braced themselves for an intense battle, aware that their adversaries were faster and more agile than their own aircraft. The ensuing dogfight was a high-speed, adrenaline-fueled dance in the sky. The Thunderjets weaved and dodged through the air as the MiG-15s pressed their attack, desperate to bring down the vulnerable B-29s. Lieutenant Colonel Bertram and his fellow pilots pushed their F-84s to the limit, determined to protect their charges at all costs. In the heat of the battle, Bertram locked onto a MiG-15, his sights set on the enemy aircraft's tail. He squeezed the trigger and unleashed a hail of gunfire, watching the MiG-15 shudder under the assault. The enemy fighter then spiraled away from view, leaving behind trailing smoke, scoring the first downing made by a Thunderjet. Despite being outmatched by the more advanced Soviet-built MiG-15 fighters, F-84s managed to damage or down 105 MiG-15s, with 8 confirmed enemy aircraft shot down during the war. The enduring Thunderjet. As a result of its lower-rated performance, The Thunderjet was transferred to ground strike operations, excelling in this role similar to its World War II predecessor, the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt. In the course of the war, F-84 Thunderjets flew 86,000 missions and dropped 61,000 tons of bombs and napalm canisters, accounting for 60% of ground targets destroyed by the United States Air Force. The F-84's robustness proved to be an asset, as it was able to survive heavy enemy flak. One notable operation was the June 1952 raid on the Suiho Dam complex, in which 84 F-84s destroyed 90% of the facility, causing a 2-week power outage across North Korea. However, this raid generated controversy, stirring anti-war sentiments in the British Parliament and criticism from some in the US who believed it should have happened sooner. By 1953, F-84s were targeting dams at Toksan and Chasan, causing massive floods that damaged infrastructure and crops. Of the 335 F-84s lost during the Korean War, at least 135 were destroyed by enemy flak. US records indicate that an additional 18 were shot down by MiGs, while Soviet and Chinese pilots claimed 65. Comparisons of lost records suggest that around 25 F-84s were lost in aerial combat in exchange for 7 to 8 MiG-15s. The Nuclear G. The F-84G Thunderjet, an even more improved version of the F-84 series, represented a groundbreaking advancement in military aviation in the rising years of the Cold War. As a fighter bomber, the F-84G boasted enhanced performance, greater fuel capacity, an improved engine that provided better performance and upgraded avionics. However, one particular feature separated this aircraft from all its predecessors. The F-84G was the first single-seat fighter aircraft capable of carrying and delivering tactical nuclear weapons. Made to specifically carry the Mark 7 nuclear bomb, a compact and lightweight tactical weapon with an adjustable yield ranging from 8 to 61 kilotons, this smaller and lighter bomber provided America and NATO forces in Europe with a powerful deterrent against potential Soviet aggression. The aircraft also incorporated in-flight refueling capabilities, extending its range and enabling it to reach targets deep within enemy territory. More than 3,000 F-84G aircraft were built, making it the most produced variant of the F-84 series. While it never dropped nuclear weapons in combat, its primary role was to serve as a deterrent to potential adversaries and a potent reminder of the West's atomic capabilities during a time of mounting tension and uncertainty. As the Cold War persisted, F-84 Thunderjets continued to battle on various fronts, even beyond the Korean War. Out of the 3,000 F-84s that were built, the U.S. transferred hundreds, but in different numbers, to NATO allies and other friendly nations, including Belgium, Denmark, France, Greece, Italy, Norway, and Turkey. Zero launched. The sturdy F-84 even served for a time as a test platform for new concepts. While not all experiments were successful, including an attempt to tow F-84s behind B-29s that ended in a fiery collision, the Thunderjet participated in zero-length launch experiments. The concept of zero-length launch, or ZEL, was explored during the Cold War as warplanners looked for alternatives to rapidly deploy fighter aircraft without the need for long runways. In an article of the time from Popular Mechanics, it was reported that the F-84G variant was equipped with the Martin MGM-1 Matador solid-fuel boost motor attached to the rear of the aircraft. Positioned on a truck trailer as a makeshift launch platform, the rocket booster propelled the F-84G forward, becoming airborne in a matter of seconds. The device burned out seconds after ignition and dropped away from the manned fighter a second or two later. According to Martin test pilot Bob Turner, who flew the Thunderjet on that occasion, the shock of platform takeoff felt no greater than when an aircraft is catapulted off the deck of an aircraft carrier. Although the zero-length launch concept proved technically feasible, concerns about pilot safety and logistical support ultimately limited its operational adoption, favoring vertical takeoff and landing solutions instead. The end is near. Introduced in 1954, the superior swept-wing F-84F Thunder Streak model entered service, spawning the RF-84F Thunder Flash photo reconnaissance variant, with intakes in the wing roots instead of the nose. This improved F model could reach speeds just shy of 700 miles per hour by a more powerful but finicky J-65 turbojet. Despite its improved features, including being the only Thunderjet with a swept-wing design, improved handling and maneuverability, and more, the aircraft was by then on its way to obsolescence. In the late 1950s, the Air Force began retiring all F-84 models in favor of the supersonic F-100 Super Sabre and F-105 Thunder Chief. Despite this, the model continued to serve in Air National Guard units until 1970, with the last Thunder Flash retired from the Greek Air Force in 1991. The F-84 series leaves a legacy as a tenacious jet that played a pivotal role in reinforcing the air forces of U.S. allies during the early years of the Cold War. Thank you for watching Dark Skies. Remember to hit the like button before you go, and subscribe to this and all of our documentaries channels for more thrilling content about history's most remarkable aircraft, their missions, and beyond. Stay tuned.